Now, a First Alert Weather Breakdown. First Alert Weather Day Special Edition with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Welcome on to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Again, today is a First Alert Weather Day here in the ArkLaTex, as we're expecting severe storms for a good course of the day today. Here's the latest check at your Doppler radar before we get into anything else. Thankfully, things are looking mostly calm, at least in terms of not seeing any major storms around. But certainly the ingredients are there. It is windy if you step on out the door. It is incredibly humid and warm to start off this morning, too. It's all the ingredients needed to have lots of severe weather here throughout the course of the day here today. So thankfully, again, severe storms just off to our west side. We'll take a more thorough look at this, but this is based on what we're seeing on our current local Doppler radar at the Shreveport Regional Airport. There's a few little lines of some storms there just on the western edge of the ArkLaTex here for the time being, and maybe, if anything, maybe a little drizzle of some rain north of Texarkana. That's what we're seeing so far in the ArkLaTex. Welcome on to the stream. I am meteorologist Evan Thomason on your First Alert Weather Day here at KSLA News 12. There we go. Welcome on. Thank you very much for joining us here for the day today. Again, we're expecting severe storms later on this afternoon, and by golly, this is the first of 4 First Alert Weather Days here in the ArkLaTex, and to be quite frank with you, this is probably looking like the worst of the First Alert Weather Days. If I had to pick one out of the 4 days that was going to be most severe, today would be that day, honestly, here in the ArkLaTex, which in that aspect, you know, it's kind of a good thing. Let's get the worst away with first, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Because I will say, you are going to enjoy the 12-day forecast. Next work week looks beautiful, but I know that's not what you're here for. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to be discussing here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown, our weather podcast here at KSLA News 12. We're going all into details on the First Alert Weather Days, which again includes today and also includes Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Plenty of storms coming on through the ArkLaTex over the next 4 days. It is going to be a wild ride. Now, for those of you wondering why I started this stream about 10 minutes early, we actually have this stream on a time limit on KSLA.com, which is what our live stream is on and what this entire podcast setup is on. We have ArkLaTex Artistry coming up at 11 o'clock, so we got to be done by that time. In that time, though, again, as I'm giving the forecast away, I'll start with the forecast first and foremost. And then I will dive into any and all questions on our Facebook and YouTube streams. I know that is going to be critical and really key. For example, Cheryl is watching, Vicky is watching, Cheyenne is watching, Paula is watching. Thank you for those of you watching here at home for the latest info on your weather here for the day today for the threat of severe storms. This is certainly looking like one of the worst severe weather potential days that we've seen here in quite some time. And that's even compared to the other First Alert Weather Days that we've already had this spring. So you want to make sure you're weather aware with us here again later on today. Thankfully, again, on our radar picture, all looks good for now. Let's get into our forecast. We're going to start with the forecast first. We're going to go, for those of you who are new, we're going to go over the forecast in and of its entirety. So if I answer any of your questions, they get answered essentially during the forecast. Then I'll end the forecast, essentially ask for questions, comments on Facebook, YouTube, stuff like that. I'll answer them at the tail end of the stream, and I'll basically be answering those for the rest of the time that I have. Again, the stream's got to be ended around 10:55 a.m., and just so you know, after that, I'm going to talk about this later again afterward, but our next update after I end the stream at 10:55 will come an hour later with meteorologist Austin Evans. He is next up on the shift. He will have info on KSLA News 12 at noon with the latest info that continues to come in. But by the way, National Weather Service has continued to update things a lot this morning, by the way, including our severe weather risk, which we'll look at later, including they issued a wind advisory in effect for the day today. They issued that about 2 hours ago, I believe. So National Weather Service and us continue to ramp up coverage and work hand in hand in keeping you guys weather aware here for the storms that are expected to hit the ArkLaTex again later today. So far, we haven't seen a single drop on our First Alert Doppler radar. You pay attention during the entirety of this morning shift, during the morning show. Things have been quite dry. It's been cloudy, but it's been dry here throughout the ArkLaTex. Let's get a good look outside and good look at our other graphics here. Window World Skycam in Texarkana. Very cloudy, pretty much the same exact skyline we've had basically since the early morning hours. Cloudy and clouds that are moving. If you check out then, kind of pay attention to the positioning of the clouds. Again, this is a live look here right now, and this doesn't just stop in freeze frames. Those clouds are actively moving here at a pretty good pace in throughout the skyline here for the day today. And the same skyline is found across Shreveport and Bossier. Just looks very gloomy, very ominous, very windy. We'll get to more on that in just a little bit. Current conditions right now. Temperatures, very warm. This is fuel for the storms here for the day today. You already woke up to temperatures in the 70s here early this morning. And now we're already up to 81 at Shreveport here at 10:30. 81 for Natchitoches, 77 at Marshall. 80 already as far north as Texarkana as well. It is incredibly warm underneath an entirely saturated atmosphere here for the day today. Honestly, if we did not have these storms coming on through, cooling us off just a little bit, we would be having high temperatures way up into the 90s. This would be a crazy temperature day. And for this afternoon, the fact that we're already above 80 degrees here, and it's not even 10:30 in the morning, kind of feels like a muggy summer day. In fact, highs today are scheduled to be around the mid to upper 80s, especially if you're in northwest Louisiana, maybe the low to mid 80s if you're across anywhere else around the ArkLaTex. All right, here's a close first alert Doppler look. Now, not only are we going to look at our local radar, we're also going to take a look at other radars as well. This is a look off our radar in Oklahoma currently. We're going to see the line of storms right now just approaching the very edge, and I can go ahead and zoom in, the very edge of McCurtain County. Just looks like the northern edge of McCurtain County, so this is the first, I guess, kind of landfall, so to speak, in the ArkLaTex from these storms here for the day today. Just a little tiny splash of a rain shower there for the time being, but the main line is holding off just to the western edge, essentially, of the ArkLaTex and just off to the west side of McCurtain County. So if we look at these storms out towards Dallas-Fort Worth area, they got several storms out and around there as well. Now, the thing about this entire line of storms, it does have a history of producing lots of severe thunderstorm warnings. In fact, there's one literally just to the north side of McCurtain County, headed out towards Fort Smith, and you see in that yellow shade there. This is a line, again, that has a history of producing severe thunderstorm warnings and also tornado warnings. Thankfully, we do have we do have tornado warnings ongoing with this line, but that's way off to our north into Missouri for the time being. The point is, though, this is a dangerous line of storms that are quickly, I would actually rather not say quickly, but slowly moving into the ArkLaTex. In fact, that's actually one of the themes of this system, is that this is moving at a snail's pace, by the way. It was in Oklahoma City around 4 in the morning, early this morning, and the fact that it's just now reaching areas of McCurtain County 6 hours later means at this rate it's not reaching, say, areas of Shreveport, Bossier until like this evening, almost into tonight, here into the ArkLaTex. So we'll go over that in our future track coming up, but just to keep you aware that the system as a whole is moving at a snail's pace. Now, obviously, the cloud covers are moving very quickly just up the line in and of itself. This is a real I wouldn't say devastating, but a real intricate photo here for you, just kind of demonstrating the fire hydrant. I love using the word fire hydrant with this kind of system. It almost just looks like it's spraying continuously on top of areas around northern Arkansas, Missouri, and getting lots of moisture up in Illinois currently. But you can kind of see we got plenty of storms on the southern end of this system, which are expected to develop with the daytime heating today. That's really going to ramp up the storm coverage here in the ArkLaTex, as the line from southeastern Oklahoma that you see there is going to slowly but surely expand and essentially strengthen, grow, and form extreme severe thunderstorms in the ArkLaTex directly. So this is going to be hard to... I know we're already seeing the storms out on the radar currently, but the storms are certainly going to grow, and the whole line itself is going to grow and strengthen in severity as it continues eastward and as it gets the daytime, as it basically swallows up the warm temperatures, especially with the daytime heating into the afternoon. Wind advisory. This was new, issued by the National Weather Service about 2 hours ago. This is in effect for the entire ArkLaTex now, currently, all the way until 7 p.m. tonight. We've seen already some strong wind gusts out there, up to 30 to 40 miles an hour, even without the storms. It is a breezy day in for the day today. Now, future track. I know this is important for everybody. As I said, I will try to answer specific questions for timing for certain towns maybe a little bit later, but just for forecast purposes, let's kind of go and track this out hour by hour. This is a future track called the HER as well that goes and updates itself essentially every hour too, and is best in short-term cases like this where we essentially have rain on our doorstep. So let's see what we can see over the next hour or so. Again, in the next, just say hour, 2 hours, 11 a.m. to around noon. Look at this. It's in McCurtain County, and that's it in the next hour and a half. And keep in mind, again, we talked about how the first cell is just reaching into McCurtain County now, and still within the next hour or two, it's still there. That's how slowly moving this system is. As we continue into the afternoon, continuing on into the afternoon till around 3 p.m. That's when this starts to slowly crawl a lot more into the high 30 corridor between Mount Pleasant and Texarkana, and this will be hitting especially areas north of Texarkana by around 3 p.m. as well. So again, the clouds with the system, yes, are moving very quickly, but the system as a whole shifts so slowly eastward at a snail's pace. Again, it's barely in McCurtain County now, and it's not going to reach Texarkana still for another 4 to 5 hours. So you still have plenty of time. If you're out in Shreveport and Bossier, you'll be looking more towards the evening hour with this threat. Again, 5 p.m., this is still on top of, essentially, Mount Pleasant and Texarkana. And that's why one of the greatest threats with this is not just tornadic threats, but flash flooding threats, especially with this heavy rainfall packed and staying still for such a for such a long amount of time because of how slow moving this system is. Again, this is unlike other cold fronts where they just quickly whirl on by, essentially. All right, then heading into 6 p.m., this starts to finally make a little bit of more progress further down I-49, starting to get, looks like, into the northern ends of Caddo and Bossier parishes there, more towards 5, 6 o'clock at night in the evening. And then we're mainly watching out for Shreveport for that chance of tornadic threat mainly into tonight. Looks like towards 6, 7, 8 o'clock. I'd call it that. Leave yourself some leeway because this future track, to be fair, has been iffy, honestly. I know I'm saying that, and I'm going over the forecast now with this timing. But I think what I want you to get, again, the main points of this system is that this is going to be a very slow-moving system. So don't be surprised, especially over in Shreveport and Bossier, if this doesn't hit you until 6, 7 p.m. tonight. Still for another 6, 7, 8 hours. Hopefully you can get on home before then, and hopefully your afternoon commute home is dry. Meanwhile, Texarkana, this is definitely going to hit you in the thick and the heat of the afternoon. Some of these storms, though, are still not even going to go away into the overnight hours. Looks like we'll briefly dry out by like 1, 2 a.m., but kind of backtracking, we could still be dealing with this heavy rainfall and severe weather threat all the way until late tonight, 10, 11 o'clock at night, it looks like, before finally it lifts away, and then we're dealing with more storms for your first alert weather day tomorrow, by the way, which most of the storms tomorrow, thankfully, the threat tomorrow is lower than that of today, even though it is a first alert weather day here for Thursday. Most of that is going to be a first alert weather day for areas in the northern half of the ArkLaTex, which will be dealing with consistent rainfall, producing chances of flash flooding here for your Thursday. All right, so that was a look at the future track. Again, any questions, let us know. Yes, this is another future track. We track on to several of these because they can give us a different idea of how things could play out later on today. Again, this also tracks on, though, to the slow-moving system. That is something I did say in the last future track, and this one kind of reaffirms it as well. This is a slow-moving system. The only thing I really don't like about this future track, and this is why I've kind of put this second, is I don't really like the intensity. This is going to be happening in the heat of the day, right around 2, 3 p.m., and then this indicates mainly just light rain showers. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think this most of these cells are going to be heavy, containing heavy rainfall around the ArkLaTex. all isolated, mainly across the northern half of the region until 3, 4, 5 o'clock. Then it kind of indicates sharpness and intensity right around 6 or 7. And honestly, this future track keeps most of Shreveport and Bossier pretty dry until late tonight, around almost 9, 10 p.m. it looks like, before another round comes tomorrow. That's why we keep you first alert here for the day tomorrow. Another round coming for tomorrow afternoon and evening, and the same thing for Friday, especially in the northern half of the ArkLaTex. And guess what? More's on the way for Saturday, too. That's why we have 4 straight first alert weather days. Because, unfortunately, that fire hydrant of moisture that we saw on the satellite picture, stays on top of us. It was actively moving for the past 2 days. 2 days ago it was on the west coast. And now it's just going to stay stuck here for about 4 days. It's going to be ugly to deal with. I will say, if I had to pick any days out of the 4, today would be the day to have the most severe weather chance. I think I mentioned that already. Let's go into some of the specifics besides the timing of things. This is what we're watching out for threat-wise here for the day today. Wind, strong winds. You're already facing that out right now, to be quite frank with you. Large hail on top of the system. I expect to be pretty much widespread with any of these systems, and heavy rainfall is included in that. And the tornado threat is not low. The tornado threat is at a medium risk here for the day today. I really want to stress that as well. So make sure you have the ability to get your weather alerts, weather warnings, tornado warnings sent to your phone. Stay aware of that throughout the day today. All right, so again, Wednesday here for today, thankfully, we have a greater chance of severe weather, if not the greatest chance of severe weather out of the 4 days of first alert weather days. If you notice, the chance of severe weather drops off, I wouldn't say tremendously, but it drops off a good little bit here for Thursday, Friday, and also for Saturday. So watch out for that. Now, for the rainfall potential, again, one of our risks here, again, is flash flooding. This is especially key in the northern half of the ArkLaTex, as most of our first alert weather days on Thursday and Friday past today are going to be tailored to the flash flooding risk in the northern half of the ArkLaTex, because it's going to be raining almost all day long around areas of Texarkana, I-30, that kind of corridor. It's going to be raining all day long throughout Thursday and Friday. If you're in Shreveport and Bossier, maybe a brief shower, maybe 2. That could contain severe weather, yes. But definitely not receiving as much rain as, say, yes, Texarkana in the northern half of the ArkLaTex. That's why we have a flood watch that goes in effect tonight. All the way, look how long it's in effect for, and all the way until Sunday night. Sunday night. This is huge amounts of rainfall for such an extended period of time here is wild. 4 to maybe 5 days of consistent rainfall in those areas. Wild. All right, let's take a look at the latest Storm Prediction Center outlook for the day today. And I know it looks very threatening, and yes, it kind of is. First of all, let's start in areas that don't have as great of a severe weather risk, which would definitely be Natchitoches and Nacogdoches. In fact, I am going to remove my head out of the equation so you can see all of Natchitoches. Natchitoches, both on the edge between the marginal and slight risk here for the day today. Overall, I only have about a 20 to 30% chance of rain, period, for Natchitoches and Nacogdoches at all. I'm just expecting maybe a stray shower to hit the southern edge of the ArkLaTex with maybe a little chance of severe weather. That could be possible in those areas, yes, but I would say it is not likely, especially compared to the rest of the region. If you are along or north of I-20, you have a substantial chance of receiving severe weather today, and that especially includes areas in the red, which is very rare. Just, in the year that I've been here, almost a year that I've been here, I have not seen the moderate risk in the ArkLaTex yet. So that kind of just goes to show you how rare it is, especially here in the region. The red, for those of you, because I know it kind of blends in with the tan enhanced risk a little bit. First of all, the enhanced risk is, again, pretty much for everybody along and north of I-20, which means those areas do have a substantial chance of severe weather. But the even greatest chances of severe weather are going to be in the shade of red, which I'm going to I know it's a little, again, it blends in a little bit with the tan. So let me tell you where exactly that red shade is in effect for. It's in effect for areas around Magnolia, a couple of our southwest Arkansas counties, essentially the counties that are just off to the east side of Texarkana. Texarkana is not, I repeat, not in the red moderate risk at all. Neither is Shreveport and Bossier, even though the red risk does go, yes, into the northern portions of Bossier, Webster, and Claiborne parishes. It only goes into the northern edge of those regions. Technically, both Shreveport and Texarkana are in the enhanced risk, not in the moderate risk. But again, let me rephrase this one more time. You have a substantial chance of severe weather regardless if you are along or north of I-20. And again, the enhanced risk kind of goes a little bit below I-22. Kind of goes on the verge of areas like Mansfield and Center, those kind of areas. Or Carthage. I meant to say Carthage, not Center. So, yeah, watch out, regardless, for those areas to receive a substantial chance of severe weather. All right, next graphic. We're going to talk beyond today with the severe weather risk because we are under a severe risk pretty much each and every day, all the way through Saturday, as I aforementioned. But if you noticed, the map today compared to the map tomorrow, better. It is better overall. Yes, we do hold a slight risk of severe weather pretty much everywhere around the ArkLaTex except for Natchitoches, which, again, puts us right in the bullseye chance for severe storms in the region. But it is only a slight risk. We're no enhanced risk, no moderate risk at all here locally. That's why I say the severe weather risk falls off a little bit into tomorrow, but it doesn't certainly fall off the whole lot, so to speak. The same thing is in store here for your Friday. I think the big change and note between Thursday and Friday is that the storms move a little bit farther northward. If you notice, Natchitoches is now completely out of the severe risk, and Shreveport's kind of just on the verge of getting any storms at all. Meanwhile, we keep, again, the bullseye of the system and that severe weather risk for Friday still right on the I-30 corridor pretty much. Then, oh man, this is a crowded map because it auto-updated. So guess what? We're going to fix this graphic really quickly on air. So bear with me. This will take literally 5 seconds. Watch this. Boop. There we go. Now, that is exactly what I wanted to show you because this graphic loves to auto-update. Anyways, this is for our last First Alert Weather Day on Saturday. This system actually moves. It moves, which brings the severe weather risk mostly to areas around northwest Louisiana, including Natchitoches, actually. Shreveport is included underneath the stronger chances of severe weather. Meanwhile, we have a chance of severe weather in the yellow period pretty much everywhere around the ArkLaTex. So kind of midpoint one more time. Again, if you're in the yellow, you have a chance of severe weather. Stronger chances of severe weather are in the orange, which is essentially for northwest Louisiana in store for Saturday. Oh, man, lot to talk about there. 7-day forecast to kind of tailor it all off before I start to answer questions from Facebook and YouTube. And again, we got about 15 minutes to do that after this 7-day forecast. Again, First Alert Weather Day is here for the next 4 days. You want to make sure you're weather aware with us here at KSLA News 12. Those rain chances are the rain chances locally for Shreveport, which, again, kind of fall off a little bit more into Thursday and Friday. Most of the First Alert Weather Days for Thursday and Friday, again, tailored to those areas, especially around Texarkana, dealing with more flash flooding issues, but still the chance of a tornado or a few hail is possible, even though it falls off a little bit into Thursday and Friday, especially compared to the big risk for a severe weather threat here for the day today. Then Saturday, storms again become a lot more widespread around the entire region. That's why that rain chance has increased up to 70% chance. Sunday, maybe a few leftover showers in the morning, but that's it. I'm expecting to dry things out very quickly into the day on Sunday. And look at the high on Sunday after all the rain's gone. 59 degrees, a cool first week of April. And even then, next week starts off a little cool too. Highs in the upper 60s, lower 70s. We are fully dried out just in time for the start of next work week. And I must say, next week looks beautiful. Beautiful as well. If you notice those lows, actually, let me hide my face real quick before we get back into the First Alert Weather coverage. Look at the lows next week. Starting off the mornings on Monday and Tuesday, down into the 40s. Chilly. All right, that's all I'm going to talk about on that because I know everybody wants to talk about First Alert Weather Day. Stuff going on. All right, this is where I go back to streams back on Facebook and YouTube. I'm going to go ahead and do that here in just a moment. I'm going to find one graphic to kind of just leave on. I think I'm going to leave it on the day one outlook. And that's just for y'all to look at while I answer questions. And I obviously I can go to separate graphics when I answer different questions, so to speak. All right. So I know lots of questions probably here from Facebook and YouTube. Let's look at YouTube first. Again, we have until 10:55, which when the stream is going off, it is 10:43 right now. So I got about 12 minutes to answer these. I see nothing on YouTube, so let's go to Facebook. I know a lot of you watching from Facebook there. Brittany says, thanks for the update. As I said, I'm just going in order, essentially going back in line. These are comments from 20 minutes ago. I'll go, essentially down the list and go to newer comments as I go down. Stonewall area. Courtney asks about the Stonewall area. So, again, I guess tailoring to this graphic in particular, because Stonewall is in, I believe, northern Bossier Parish. I'm going to double-check that because I'm pretty sure I remember where Stonewall is. But I always want to triple-check things because I'm pretty sure it is in northern sorry, it's in southern. That's why I check on these things. Just south of Shreveport and Bossier. So if you're in Stonewall, you're still in the enhanced risk here for the day today, but most of your storms, again, like the Shreveport-Bossier area, hit tonight on that future track. I'm going to go over, future track for, specific towns after I answer all questions, so to speak, because I want to make sure I get to everything. Pine Bluff area. Ooh, if you're in Pine Bluff, that's where that pink is, which is the highest risk. By the way, high risks, this is the second time all year a high risk has been issued, and high risks get issued only 1% out of the entire year. Yeah, wild. Again, this is only the second time out of the entire year that a high risk has been issued, period. And the last forecast for the high risk, which was in Alabama and Mississippi about a couple weeks back, did come into fruition. So if you're in Pine Bluff, you are under that pink, which is the highest chance of severe weather, highest chance of flash flooding, highest chance of tornadoes. I think you get the point. So especially make sure if you're weather aware around that area. Kind of pop the mic. Sorry about that. Tabitha. Ooh, excuse me. I got 10 minutes. Tabitha. Folk, Arkansas. I'm just gonna go ahead and say I don't know where that is, so that's why I'm looking it up. That's why I'm a handy dandy phone here. All right. So yeah, that's south of Texarkana. So you were still under that enhanced risk, barely, though it looks like. And most of your timing for storms on that future track comes in the afternoon hours, probably more towards 5, 6. Again, be lenient on the timing. The future tracks have been, let's just say, inconsistent with the timing. Again, this is a slow mover. That is something the future tracks have come into a consensus on, so that even though the storms are just heading in McCurtain County now, in fact, it has been quite a couple minutes. Let me go ahead and check back on that current radar here for you. Yeah, storms, I mean, even then, we saw one tiny cell just popping into McCurtain County, and now it's gone. So this is what the storms look like right now, just off to the western edge of the ArkLaTex, essentially. Just off to the western edge of McCurtain County and off to the western edge of Mount Pleasant and a little bit of Longview as well, as I'm kind of just scrolling around there. Clicking on that, this shows alerts. None of that line is actually alerted. At the moment, we just have a severe thunderstorm warning headed up towards Fort Smith, away from the ArkLaTex here for the time being. And yeah, the point is, this is a slow-moving system. This is moving at a snail's pace. This might not reach Texarkana until like 2, 3 p.m. This might not reach Shreveport until tonight here in the region. All right, Mary. Greenwood going to get smacked good, potentially. Again, I want to go back to this, because this is the graphic that answers pretty much most questions. Excuse me. Here in the ArkLaTex. If you're what was the town again? I'm going back. Greenwood. You're under that enhanced risk here for the day today. So yeah, you're gonna have to watch out for good chances of severe weather here late this afternoon and into tonight. Marshall, you're also under that enhanced risk. Chris, thanks for the question. Yeah, the enhanced risk, and most of the severe thunderstorm line appears into areas along I-20 pretty much late tonight, almost around like dinner time. We're talking like 6, 7 is what it's looking at as of the latest future track. Although, again, as I said, I played it leniently. I would play it leniently with the exact timing of things. I'm going to be honest, future track with like exact timing of things has honestly been inconsistent and not entirely the most reliable to where I'm even proud of it. I'm going to be honest. But regardless, it's looking like Texarkana, it hits you this afternoon. Shreveport and Bossier, it hits you tonight. Jen asks, does that include Taylor? I have 7 minutes, just so you know. You can feel free to pack all your questions. I'm trying to answer these as quick as I can. Taylor. There's a Taylor. Hold up. Taylor. Okay, that's what I thought. Taylor, Arkansas. Yes. Taylor, Arkansas is included in that red risk there, that moderate risk, which includes the greatest chance for severe storms around the ArkLaTex, at least locally. Hot and timing. Should you be concerned? But, I mean, yes, in a way. The greatest chance of severe storms. Honestly, don't be concerned. The worst thing I want to do is spread panic at all. Yes, this is probably the day for the greatest chance of severe storms all the way around the ArkLaTex. Hot and this hits tonight. But again, just make sure you're weather aware with us here at KSLA News 12. We'll take care of you. We will take care of you. I'll be here for a little while longer, but meteorologist Austin Evans and chief meteorologist Matt Jones will be here all afternoon and night long. Mostly Matt Jones, but also Austin. Minden, same thing. I've been talking about kind of the general Shreveport-Bossier area hitting tonight. Minden, it's kind of the same thing, same timing. Maybe a little smidge bit later, towards 7 or 8, but that's what we're looking like as of right now. How about a Shreveport? Shreveport is under the enhanced risk here for today. You got to watch out for the greatest chances of severe storms with good chances of flash flooding, hail, strong winds, and yes, also a medium chance of a tornado. I wouldn't say high. I would not say low either. Essentially, you have a substantial chance of severe weather for those along and north of I-20, and that does include the Shreveport-Bossier area. Kaylee says, I am scared. Don't be scared. Don't be scared. We'll take care of you here at KSLA News 12. I promise. Promise, all right? We'll get you covered here for the rest of today, all right? I got 5 minutes left on the stream. What is the timing for Shreveport? Again, tonight. Tonight, Shakina. I'm down to comments about 5 minutes away. Morning sport. Same thing. Again, storms hitting this afternoon across most of Louisiana. Charlotte, great question. How can we get alerts in real time for when a tornado is forming and moving? You can get alerts from KSLA News 12 weather app. Especially one of the things you could do with that weather app is allow it to track your location. Now, we're not trying to obviously stalk. Well, we technically are trying to stalk where you are to get you the latest weather info for your own location, so to speak. So that when you put in your weather location, it should tell you when a tornado watch or, most importantly, a tornado warning happens in your area. You can also pay attention to our entire streams here. Anytime a tornado warning is on, we will be on air on the television on KSLA News 12. So you will know then, and you can go to that page at any time to see if your area is under a tornado warning. Great question. Social media also helps out a lot. Our pages, my page, Matt's page, Austin's page, CJ's page, whoever you follow here at KSLA News 12 from our meteorologist point of view, all of us automatically post tornado warnings as soon as they're issued. So you can get the latest info from our just basically typing meteorologist Evan Thomason and looking at the list of tornado warnings. Hopefully it is not a list, but you get the point. My post will be auto-updated for then. If you live in apartments, this is a good question. What's the best thing to do if you live in apartments? By the way, I live in an apartment. I live in an apartment also on the 3rd floor. So if you're in an apartment, best thing is most interior in secure area of your house. For me, or of your apartment. For me, that is my closet. Just anything that does not, a room that does not have windows. My living room has windows. My bedroom also has windows. It's a little creepy, but don't look through there. Anyways, point is, my closet does not have windows. Windows are most prone to breaking, especially letting the outside elements in when it comes to any significant chance of a tornado. So the best chance of you staying safe, so you're not, cut by glass, so to speak, thrown around by, just cut by glass from the windows or anything from the outside elements. Best way to do so is to close the door and keep yourself in an entire room that basically does not have access to the outside at all. That includes windows. That includes the door to the outside world as well. All right. Carolyn, DeKalb. DeKalb is more towards this afternoon. I'd probably say early afternoon hours. That's a good question for there. I got 2 to 3 minutes left. Carter, what's tonight time frame? That's a good question. I know I've just been saying tonight. For Shreveport and Bossier, mostly it looks looking like as early as 5 p.m. I think at the earliest, it looks like. At the latest, 8. So somewhere in that time frame is where I'd watch out for. 5 to 8 p.m. for Shreveport and Bossier. That's what I'm going off on as of right now. Obviously, we'll keep you latest up to date, obviously, throughout the entirety of today. That's a great question, though, Carter. So for tonight in Shreveport and Bossier, 5 to 8. For Texarkana, it could start, I think, as early as 1, but I'm looking at afternoon mainly towards 3, 4 p.m. for areas of Texarkana. South Magnolia, still under that red risk. Watching out for that. Magnolia with those storms themselves, probably in the late afternoon hours. I'm going over this quickly because, unfortunately, I only got 2 to 3 more minutes. Do you see them moving the moderate further west, especially because it's slowed down? Potentially. That's a good question. We're going to have to see in town. I see you're in Howard County. Oh, you're wondering if that moderate risk moves farther over. I will say they did expand that moderate risk as of the last update, again, as of 2 hours ago, and they could do that again. Yes, that's a good point. They could. They very well could, especially since it has been a very slow-moving system. And most of these storms are going to peak with the heat of the afternoon. Mount Pleasant for tornadoes. If they do happen, again, we're expecting early afternoon hours there, more towards 1 to 3 p.m. I already went over Magnolia, Atlanta, Texas. Same thing, kind of as Mount Pleasant. I know it's not exactly the same thing, but if anything for Atlanta, Texas, maybe a little later, 2, 3, 4 p.m. I'm going to go over these quickly because, unfortunately, I got to end the stream here in the next minute or two. Why haven't the alerts been going on the phones like they used to? I don't know. Honestly, that's a good question. You know what? I don't know. By the way, I'm not in charge of the phone app at all. I just hope the weather app does what it normally does. Maybe get your weather chat, maybe re-download it, I will say. Or, again, just visit my social media page. My social media page will auto-post any watch or warning that comes out there. Severe thunderstorm warning, tornado watch, severe thunderstorm watch, or tornado warning. All 4 of those are automatically posted as soon as they are issued. So if you want to look at my page, it's a little annoying because, you'd rather get the alert on your phone and be like, oh, my goodness, now's the time. But no, if you know the time the storms are hitting your own location, and you can go to my page and specifically check out Meteorologist Evan Thomason, and, check out when watches and warnings have been issued, if they have been issued at all. Yeah, well, that's the way to do it, essentially. Texarkana, again, this afternoon, looks like 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. Last little questions here. Cassandra asks, Houston. Houston's not under arrest for today, and that's outside the ArkLaTex. But most importantly, they're not. Houston does not have a risk for severe weather today. Marshall, Gabriella, this is the last comment I see on Facebook. Marshall, Wascom. This looks like to be in the same time frame that around Shreveport and Bossier is getting those storms. Is the same time for Marshall and Wascom, which is around tonight, mainly between 5 and 8 p.m. It could happen as early as 3 or 4, but I'm mainly expecting tonight around dinner time. All right, I need to find my voice, but the point is I got to get off the stream. Again, you want to stay weather aware with us here at KSLA News 12 for the rest of today, all right? Rest of today. Again, I will give you plenty of updates on my social media page. Especially as soon as watches or warnings are posted. Excuse me, I gotta save my voice and recover from getting off. Converse, Louisiana, tonight as well. I'm just seeing these last little minute. Jillian, also tonight here in the ArkLaTex. All right, I gotta end. Sorry. Oh my goodness. Point is, we're gonna have so many more updates. We have Austin Evans on air in an hour. I need to find my voice again. Yeah, Austin Evans will have your next couple updates coming up on KSLA News 12 at noon. I will see you later. Stay weather aware with us here at KSLA News 12 for the rest of today. Good luck. You can do it. Again, we'll keep you posted here for the rest of the day today. And thank you for watching this live stream. I'm meteorologist Evan Thomason. I'll see you again tomorrow on the First Look Weather Breakdown. Good luck.